Hi, and welcome to this edition of One-on-One, brought to you by Citi. And today we look back at a happy time for some Mets fans in particular when you consider the early days of interleague play when the Mets and Yankees as a subway series during the regular season was brand new. We have a couple of people joining us today who played big roles in a couple of those games. Pitcher Dave Mlicki and infielder Matt Franco. And before we get to meet them, I want to remind you that since 2016, for each Mets home run hit at Citi Field, Citi has donated $2,000 to No Kid Hungry. While we anxiously await more Mets home runs at Citi Field, Citi and the Citi Foundation have continued to support No Kid Hungry, providing $7 million in support since March. New estimates show that 1 in 4 children in the United States could face hunger this year because of the coronavirus. So now, more than ever, we ask you to join Citi in the fight against childhood hunger. To donate, visit nokidhungry.org/Citi. And we thanks for your consideration with that. And right now, we want to welcome in a couple of former New York Mets, and they were just going back and forth with each other with incredulity over how long it's been since they both left the New York Mets. We're talking pretty close to a quarter of a century now. Dave Mlicki and Matt Franco. And gentlemen, it's great to see and catch up. How's it going?
Oh, fantastic. So happy to be here. Nice to see some friendly faces.
Well, Matt Franco is sporting a new face. You might have to stick through the weeds to recognize him.
You're right. You're not far behind me, Howie, with that little
a little ways.
We'll give you some lessons on how to get it going.
It's called patience. Let's figure out, first of all, where everybody's coming from right now. Dave, you are, I believe, in Ohio, right?
Yeah, correct. Dublin, Ohio, just outside of Columbus. So we've been here for, 17 years now, I guess it's been since, once baseball ended, we came back this way because my parents are here, my brother's here. So there's a lot of family. So that's the reason. It's not for the weather, let me tell you.
And Matt, you're still in Southern California?
Yeah, born and raised out here. Always found this to be home. Same with Dave. Grew up here and then flew the coop with baseball. Once baseball was over, came back and started a family here and been here ever since. Bunch of family around here. Tough to leave. California, love it for the family and the weather, but the taxes are a little rough. I'd like to get out of here.
Yeah,
you got right. You get, like Dave said, you get entrenched with your family, and I wouldn't have it any other way. We got a great support system out here. So
yeah, for sure.
Well, yeah. You guys are both big parts of the Mets family, particularly when, and now the schedule's different. When we have a schedule, when we have baseball, there's an interleague game every day now because of 15 teams, an uneven number being in each league. But when interleague play started in 1997, it was in a concentrated period of a couple of weeks. And so in mid-June of 97, the Mets and Yankees played for the first time in the regular season. It is one of the most unforgettable games in the history of the New York Mets, a complete game shutout pitched by Dave Mlicki in a Mets victory at Yankee Stadium. And as we get to the anniversary of that game every year, Dave, did I say Matt pitched that game?
Yeah. He said he was there. Yeah.
Oh, he was there.
That's right.
That was awesome. Good.
That's right.
But, as we get to that anniversary in mid-June every year, Dave, do you get calls and emails and requests from people who want you to revisit that special night?
It's amazing. I can't believe it was it meant so much to so many people. But yeah, for sure. I get so much fan mail still every day. And especially this week, it always gets crazy. I have to do a bunch of interviews and all that stuff. So I guess it's good to still be relevant after all this time. But so it's amazing. I get a lot of interviews, a lot of people want to sign stuff. Actually, some of the stuff that people send is amazing. They'll still send newspaper articles for me to sign. And I'm like, how do you keep newspaper articles for, 23 years? So it's great though. I mean, gosh, what a special day.
And I have to wonder, because despite all the media attention and knowing internally what it meant to be a Met and to go after the Yankees who had won the World Series the year before, did you have any idea about the enormity of that moment, that night, and ultimately that game when you took them out?
I knew it was going to be big, and I've said this before, but I remember when the schedule came out in spring training, and I guess it came out before that. First time I saw it, I saw we were going to play them. I was just hoping I got to pitch one of the games, and just be a part of it because I knew it was going to be big. And then Bobby, as the schedule worked its way, he said I was going to get that first game, and I was like, "Holy cow!" So I was like, "All right." And my record wasn't that great, but I'd been pitching better and better, which was good. So everything just kind of seemed to click that night. And obviously, you couldn't do it without the defense and the hitting. Getting those 3 runs in the first inning for me was huge. That just took a lot of weight off my shoulders. And then Hundley he was amazing behind the plate the whole night. So I think we disagreed on one pitch one time, and I shook him off, and I threw a curveball and stuff. If he wanted a fastball, I gave up a hit. So I was like, all right, I'm listening to him the next. You call the rest of the game. I'll do whatever you say. So
yeah, that'll learn you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Matty, what are your recollections of that night?
Yeah, I'm still trying to get over being that nervous. That was my rookie year, and I happened to get one of those random starts, and it happened to be in Yankee Stadium against the New York Yankees. So I was in shock. I do remember it vividly, of just because Dave was such a good guy, and I remember that he was having a good year, and things just were not going his way. I remember that.
Yeah,
he was a great pitcher for us that year, and just wasn't happening for him.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were all so jacked up to be playing the Yankees in Yankee Stadium. It was such a big deal. That's what I remember the most about, is how big a deal it was. The Mets playing the Yankees, the whole city was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And down, and then to go in there and have Dave pitch such a great game and shut out the New York Yankees in Yankee Stadium, and for me to be a part of that, that's one of my all-time memories of my time there in New York, was with that period.
With whatever you thought it was going to be when you took the field at Yankee Stadium, the emotions from the stands and the energy from the crowd, we know it's infectious to any professional athlete. But what did that do in terms of just the enormity of the crowd reaction to perhaps take everybody's game, however it turned out ultimately, to a different level in a place maybe it never been before?
Yeah, for me, so when I got off the bus and we're walking into the stadium, I was like, holy cow, I've always wanted to be here. Coming from Cleveland, we played against the Yankees, but I had never been to Yankee Stadium. And so I went out early and went to the monuments and looked at all that stuff. And then I thought about who had sat in that dugout previously to me being there over all these years. And I was like, holy cow, this is a special place. And then it was an electric atmosphere. It's hard to explain. I mean, I pitched in the playoffs later in my career, and I still think this was more of a playoff atmosphere than the playoffs were. It was insane.
Well, Dave, we played them a few years later in the World Series, and the World Series had nothing on that first year of interleague play when that was going on. That was more intense than I remember the World Series being.
Yeah, I agree. I guess it's because it was obviously the first time. It was such a big deal for everyone. And
it was a big deal.
It was. And it was crazy. Getting those 3 runs in the first inning, it kind of took their crowd out of it. And, they said there were going to be some Mets fans. I was like, yeah, maybe there will, hopefully. But, by the end, when they're singing, chanting, "Let's go Mets" in Yankee Stadium, that was so cool. It was really cool. It was really cool. Yeah.
What do either or both of you remember about how badly Bobby Valentine wanted it, particularly with Joe Torre, a guy who had managed Bobby in the other dugout? And I think, obviously when Bobby left the Mets, Joe was still the manager. There might have been some lingering discomfort there, to use a pretty bland word, I suppose, to describe what could be raging emotions. But did Bobby talk to the team as a group about what this was going to mean to the Mets, to National League fans in New York, but maybe even to him personally?
I think for me, he talked to me about it and just said, I think he just tried to calm my nerves more than anything. He's like, just go out there, have fun. It's another game. And I'm like, it's not another game. So, he's giving me
basically the same thing for me.
Yeah, I think he just gave that speech to everyone. And I knew he wanted it. And we all did. I mean, let's face it. I mean, you're facing the world champs, and this is your chance to do something pretty cool. And it was, the atmosphere. I can remember it. I mean, it was just. I mean, even though it was that long ago, it's something that's just you can't really forget. It was just electric. It was just a different sense than any other game I pitched in.
Matt, how would you describe, from what you could see, Dave Mlicki's curveball that night?
I don't remember his curveball specifically. I just remember thinking, this dude is dealing, man. They got no chance tonight. And I didn't realize that it was the first inning, but I remember we got out to a lead on him early, and I think that was big. I don't know if Dave mentioned it, but I know for me it was just that from my point of view. I wasn't the starting pitcher, but I mean that was a big game, man. Playing the Yankees and on your Bobby point, everybody knew how big it was for everyone. It was big for Bobby, but it was big for all of us. We're going into the Yankee Stadium. But anyway, from my point of view, I remember scoring those runs early. Definitely, just took a lot of that out of me, and it was like, all right, let's go. This is fun now.
Yeah.
I don't. Dave mentioned it. Maybe that had something to do with his performance too. But I just remember that game flying by, and it was 3 up, 3 down, 3 up, 3 down. Scratch the hit or two there or whatever, but that game was never in jeopardy. I don't know what the time of the game was, but it seems like it was an hour and a half game to me. That thing
Yeah.
Must have meant you had fun, went fast.
Oh yeah, and back to the environment. Like I said, we played in the World Series, and I don't remember anything for me personally, the intensity of that series opening up at Yankee Stadium in the first interleague play. That was pretty cool. Really cool.
Well, the word, Dave, I was going to use, if Matty didn't use it first to describe your curveball, was filthy.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a better curveball than you did that night?
I did.
Really?
That it was really good that night, but it was one of those games where I had every pitch, and I had it a few other times, and I had games where I didn't have as good of stuff, and I threw I threw shutouts and stuff like that. But that game, I felt like I could throw any pitch at any time, and if I got ahead of a guy, I could move it around. I could change speeds. So yeah, my curveball was just it was really, really good that night, and then it was just. It was one of those days where I had confidence in everything, and I don't know if it was the atmosphere or everything, but I just felt so locked in and so in tune with everything that I don't want to say it's easy, because it was not easy. I'm not saying that. It's just, getting the runs ahead of me. And actually another big thing that helped too is in the 7th, I think we scored a couple more runs, because I knew it was just Andy was, Pettit's a great pitcher, so I knew we weren't going to get a whole lot of runs. But then you get a couple more in like the 6th, 7th inning, and with our bullpen, I knew the game was over at that point, because you give it to our bullpen, you got Franco is going to close it. He's not going to give up 5 runs, So at that point, it was just let's go. Let's just have a lot of fun now. So that's what I did. That was my outlook on it.
Well, if that game and your shutout was the first moment that comes to mind for a Met fan when they think about early anyway, interleague games between the Mets and Yankees, really any of the interleague games between the Mets and Yankees during the regular season. I don't know, Matt, you had a hit that can give Dave's performance a run for its money. That was a couple of years later. We're talking about 1999 now. Dave had already moved on, having been traded to the Dodgers in the De Nomo trade for the Mets. But there was a back-and-forth game between the Mets and Yankees on a Saturday afternoon at Shea Stadium. Matt Franco, take it from there.
I remember that one a little more vividly, because I was more involved in that one. But it was a great game. It was so it was 99, which just a couple years after Dave. So the aura of the interleague had dissipated a little bit, so it wasn't quite as intense. But it was still Mets Yankees. That was always a big time. You remember Howie and Dave? Those were big times, because like you said, now interleagues every week. Back then it was only for that little time, so it's still a little bit special. Anyway, it was one of the great Met Yankee games, back and forth thing, and I happened to be at the right place at the right time. Bases loaded, 2 outs, we're down by 1. I'm facing Mariano Rivera. Howie, you had the call on that. I get to hear it all the time. People like you, Dave. If it wasn't for that thing, I'm the lost, forgotten soul on this earth. With that one, every time that year, Matt Frank. It's nice to stay relevant, huh, Dave? Like you were.
Yeah, that exactly.
That one hit kept me going in the Mets world for a long time. But that was a big moment for me, and it was a lot of fun. I'll never forget it. Those were the
one little detail you're leaving out, though. One little detail you're leaving out. You were down to your last strike too. There were 2 strikes.
I had 2 strikes on me, and Mariano threw a really good pitch that, if you watch it, it very easily could have been called a strike. I'm not gonna lie, it was close. and it was fortunately called the ball on the next pitch. I got a base hit that scored 2, and that was wow, that was exciting, boy. That was a good one.
I actually remember that. I was actually watching that. So
Were you?
Oh yeah, I actually saw it. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty neat.
Yeah.
Now, what do you remember? I mean, it's obvious when you think back. You're getting mobbed by your teammates, et cetera, et cetera. But what do you remember about the initial euphoria? Realizing you're driven in the 2 runs that won the game, just those couple of thoughts that flashed through your mind in the ensuing few seconds.
I remember it like it was yesterday. I can still see the pitch coming in. I hit it hard, and I thought at first that it might have been right to the second baseman. But once I saw it get over his head and I saw the ball bounce, and I knew I'd gotten a hit, and I remember running down saying, like, holy shit, did I just beat these people? Did that really just happen? And I was kind of running around because the ball was hit pretty hard. So Alfonso was on second. And it was a close play at the plate. He was coming around. So I was kind of running it around first, watching the play at the plate. And when I saw him slide in and the umpire goes safe, then it was all mayhem. But I remember running down the baseline, kind of watching the play. Yeah, something we'll never forget, for sure.
You know, Howie, what's kind of funny about that too is, well, like big moments like that, like for me, like when I was a little kid, I'd be like, all right, I'm pitching against the Yankees, and this is, it's like 3-2 bases loaded. What are you going to do? You know what I mean? And like I did that growing up my whole life. Like, you want to make that pitch, you want to make that hit. And the fact that, we got
one more out to shut out the Yankees.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we got to live the dream, man.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You get to strike out Jeter to end the game.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like something you just can't, the emotions, like it was just a rush of emotion. I remember giving Todd a hug, and then I don't remember a whole lot of it. I was just like, you're so locked in. And it was cool to, the next day was a fun day for sure. I mean, we lost. That sucked. It was great until the game started.
So, well, when Matt drove in the run to win the game, the 2 runs that won the game, it was at Shea Stadium. And, you had a very, very large contingent of Mets fans there.
Sure.
When Dave pitched that shutout at Yankee Stadium, there were a strong contingent of Met fans in the Bronx as well, but they got louder and louder as the game progressed. The lead widened, and by the 9th inning, certainly a lot of Yankee fans had left. So basically, the Mets fans had Yankee Stadium all to themselves in the 9th inning of Dave's game. Do you remember that and how it almost must have felt as though you were pitching at Shea Stadium by that 9th inning?
Oh yeah, I totally remember that. That's what I remember. I came off the field and I tipped my cap, and all I saw were Mets, and I was like, "That's crazy." Did you think about that you took over a stadium like that was pretty cool, and it was loud, and it was just full of energy that you can't. It's hard to describe. Like, New York fans are awesome. Like, they are just intense, and it's different there. It's a different way, I guess. I don't know. I mean, you go, and they're respectful. Like, that's it's a different. Everywhere I pitch, Mets fans are definitely different.
Well, there's a certain energy, of course, that's I think unique. I mean, you could say Boston and Philadelphia have it, but we've got 2 of every league, 2 teams in every league, and 3 if you count the Devils being in New Jersey as far as hockey goes. So yeah, it's a unique market to be sure. And I also want to give people an opportunity to just get to know you guys a little bit better on a personal level, rather than simply the baseball memories that we've had, because there's some interesting stories for both of you. I know Matt, first off, from Westlake, California, that's an area that has produced some major league talent, hopefully a major league star in a few years too, because Pete Crow Armstrong, who the Mets just drafted in the first round, went to school right down the block. But what is it about that area where there are so many kids who become baseball players? There's a pretty good show business contingent in there too, right?
Yeah. I don't know. It's just Southern California has always been a hotbed for baseball. Obviously the California weather. So you got California, Texas, and Florida, where I think dang near half of the league is from one of those 3 states. So it's obviously the weather, but Southern California has always been a spot. The high school that I went to right here, me and my buddy Mike Lieberthal, who played with the Phillies for 14 years. We were on the same high school team. Christian Yelich went to that high school. You know what he's doing now. This kid that just got drafted right down the street. So this is an area where, they put out some players, and it's just, I don't know what it is about it, but it just happens to be one of those pockets where it's good baseball out here.
And I mentioned acting. Pete Crow Armstrong's mom, professional actress in Little Big League. Lucas Giolito, who comes from that area, pitcher now with the White Sox. His grandfather had a role in Seinfeld, Susan Ross's father. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it's hard to match Matt's connection.
I've got some Hollywood connections in my family.
We got to go there now. You are related to Kurt Russell, who we met along the way when you were playing for the Mets. Your mom is Kurt's sister. Is that how it works?
Yeah, my mom is Kurt's older sister. Dave, you probably met Kurt along the way, huh?
I did, yeah.
Big fan of us back then. He was in the clubhouse quite a bit.
Yeah, he'd come in the clubhouse quite a few times. It was
he had a lot of fun during those years when we were kicking butt.
And by the way, he doesn't need my approval to seal the deal, but he played the late coach Herb Brooks.
Yeah.
In
we got the Academy Award for that.
Well, I'll tell you what. And Miracle, of course, was the name of the movie.
Sure.
And I was privileged to know Herb Brooks, having coached the New York Rangers. And let me tell you something. He absolutely nailed it. I mean, 100% gesture for gesture.
Yeah.
Obviously, the words are scripted, but all of the nuances and acting.
I got to spend a little time with Mike Eruzione a couple years ago at the Ryder Cup. He was there as like a kind of a guest motivator. Anyway, I got to hang out with him a little bit, and I was with Kurt, and Mike pulled me aside and said, dude, you don't even know how he nailed Herb Brooks. Like, I couldn't even, if I didn't know, I mean, it was him. Like, he just apparently just nailed it. And what a great movie, huh?
Yeah, it was fantastic. When it was chilling, really, to having known Herb, to see just what a tremendous job Kurt did in portraying every little nuance was fabulous. And I'm curious, Dave, about whether or not because you went to Oklahoma State University. I think you played with Robin Ventura for a year or two, right? Was Garth Brooks there when you were there?
He was, I'm old, but I'm not quite that old. He's a little older. No, he was there, right? I think he was there a couple years before I got there. But country music. I became a country music fan when I went to school in Oklahoma, that's for sure. But going back to Kurt, I want to call him Snake Plissken. That's what I was.
That's probably my favorite one.
Yeah, but he so I never got to meet Garth Brooks. But yeah, baseball at Oklahoma State was amazing. We played with some great guys, and with Burnitz, played with Jeremy Burnitz, obviously, and Ventura, and a bunch of other guys in the minor leagues. But I mean, so many major league guys from there too.
Yeah, what a cool.
And the thing is, you actually were traded for Jeremy Burnitz a little bit later on when you left.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Right?
Yeah, I got traded to where did I go for him? It was Cleveland. That's how I got traded. Wasn't that how I got traded to? Yeah, wasn't it?
I think it was,
because he was there.
You came over with Paul Byrd and Jerry DiPoto.
And DiPoto, for Burnitz,
And that's when Jeremy went to Cleveland, right?
Yep. So I haven't seen him in a long time. I actually went back to, we had a reunion at Oklahoma State this past year, and I haven't been back since. That was the first time I was back since I left, and it was good to see a bunch of guys. He wasn't there, unfortunately, but got to see a lot of guys. It's fun doing this kind of stuff where you get to see old friends, old teammates. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, this is neat.
Yeah.
And how are you guys with baseball firmly in your blood, handling not only retirement, because you have an opportunity to work with kids and coach if you so choose, but especially during this downtime where there aren't games to go to and you can't just pick up and go watch a high school or a college game. What does the absence of baseball do to your very being right now, even though you're retired as major leaguers?
You got that one? Yeah. It's hard. Like it's weird. Like when I first retired, I had spent it was my whole life. I mean, I'm sure Matt can contest this as well. It's just like all you do is I do is compete. So that's what I missed when baseball ended, was just the competing and trying to fill that void, which is really hard to do. So for me, I stepped away from baseball a little bit, and it was hard to watch for a little while when it ended. And then now it's when my kids got into it and I helped coach this high school, that's when I got back into it again. And found the love for it again. Because I mean, it's a great sport. It's just it's awesome. It's in your blood. It's what I love to do. It's what I know. And so it's hard that they're not playing right now. And we talked on it earlier, and hopefully they get something resolved here soon, especially in this time. So there's something for people to grasp and get some normalcy back in the world, and have something to watch and root for again.
Well, thanks. We're going to stop here. Thanks so much for joining us. We're going to have a little more content from this interview available for you, and that is going to be at cityentertainment.com. So join us there.